So, how do I mountain bike with my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old? Not going to get too much into the weeds of the bike, but the number one question I get, or the number one interaction I get when I'm riding trails with little man or little homegirl, is basically what kind of setup are you running and how does it work and all that kind of stuff. So I figured I'd do a video about it. So after quite a bit of research and looking at all the systems out there and whatnot, I ended up going forward with the Kids Ride shotgun system. And I went for quite a few different reasons. My biggest reason, number one, was it did not directly mount to any part of the frame. So I didn't need to put any ratchet strap, nothing along those lines. The only really thing that I had to do is take the handlebars off, switch out a spacer with the spacer that they provide that allows this to clamp down and basically not put any sort of pressure or anything onto the frame. The other thing too was, other than that, everything else fit with no modifications or anything along those lines. The only thing I did have to do was adjust the Kids Ride shotgun itself. So with all that, it's very easy to take off. So if I'm not riding with the kids, or I do want to ride with the kids, including the handlebars, I'm able to pop them off real quick. The next reason is the adjustability with it. So what I really like is you can adjust the footholds. My 4-year-old's getting a little big to where his knees are up and sometimes he just doesn't have his feet in them at all. But I also have the flexibility to have the amount of adjustment basically that you all can see here from in front of my seat upwards to the handlebars and the stem. And with that, not only can you adjust the seat, how far up it goes, you can also adjust the seat angle. You can adjust how far this goes to connect, and it works just really well. So in order to pop it off, it's very simple. If I'm not going riding with the kids, we just unloosen this bolt up here, which connects to the spacer that they provide, which pops right off. We loosen this up back here, and it pops right off. So when I talk about adjustability, you have all sorts of bike lengths. It's not like you have to size it for your bike, but basically what it'll do is it hits and you adjust, and it also has all your torque specs on here as well. And you just tighten it down and you're good to go. The only really complaint of adjustability I have is there's been a few times where I want to adjust essentially where this seat is as I'm riding. And with that, I have to do it with a Allen wrench, which I usually carry with me anyway as a multi-tool. So the Kids Ride shotgun works out well. With that, the other thing that I like that came with it, with the kit that I bought, is the handlebars. So these are the handlebars that came with it. It comes with multiple different clamps and clamp accessories in order to fit your bars. But what I really, really like is, rather than have them grabbing onto the bars here, with them up here, they kind of are set to where their hands can be. They don't have leverage to control your bike. So coming up on corners, a few times I felt my 4-year-old, he definitely will try to turn, but with the wider grip that I have and just a little bit more control of the bike than he has at this section, you're able to overcome it and kind of correct them into that, and that way they feel it. I've really liked running this setup. I've ran this setup for a little while now. Climbing is really not that big of a deal. I did put on a different back shock, not because of the Kids Ride with shotgun. I was just tired of running with the Fox float that I had, so I switched it out to a Cane Creek DB Air, and it works well. It did take me a few rides to get used to climbing with it. Climbing wise, I ride clipless, and sometimes with the kids I don't ride. I just kind of keep my feet on them. But what I've noticed is I've had to bow my knees out just a little bit depending on where little man is sitting, and he's my biggest and tallest kid. So yeah, it works a little bit of different parts of the muscles, but we've done a few pretty good climbed rides and we didn't have an issue. So overall, I like it. Yes, there's little things that I'm like, oh, I would change this, but for the most part, it's been a very solid setup. When going downhill, you can definitely feel the weight that you have forward. What's really nice too is it gives them the opportunity to stand up on the pedals while they're riding. If you're sitting down and you're pedaling and you're going downhill, they can stand up and kind of get a feel for what you're watching out for and what you're doing entering certain corners. But you can certainly feel the weight forward up on this setup. And with that, I ended up switching out my brakes that I was running. I just ran a little bit better of a brake pad and make sure that my brakes are completely set up just so we're not messing with it. But with that, as you guys have sure have seen on some of my videos, there's been a few rock gardens that normally I ride no problem. But unfortunately, when you're riding it with one of the kids, it's not something that I'm gonna really mess around with. What's going on here? I think I'm caught somewhere. So there we go. So anyway, this clips on, boom, good to go, nice and tight. We're gonna reverse or extend this. Make sure that they've got all the way to that seat post. And just like that, we go from being able to ride by myself to riding with little man. So works well. I highly recommend it, especially for the younger kids. I got a 1.5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and my 3-year-old, and it works out very, very well getting them out there on the trail. And that's the number one thing. I mean, even if you're riding just a bike trail or a paved road, it gets them into feeling what exactly you're doing to the bike when you're doing it, and kind of gets them up and running. So if you guys have any questions, anything further in relation to the bike that I ride, I won't go too much into detail because there's quite a bit of other bikes out there, way better bikes too, but this is just a 2018 Santa Cruz High Tower LT. Gets the job done. Hopefully we'll be getting a new bike next year. Probably stick with a non-electric bike. However, it would be nice running this setup as well. This setup does work well with electric bikes as well. Like I said, the only thing that you're going to need to switch out is the spacer on your handlebar. You got to make sure you're running one of the spacers that they have in order for it to clamp to it, and then just have a little bit of room off of your dropper post too. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Drop a comment, and thanks for checking it out.
What were that people doing?